I never thought that I would record 2 videos at once, but here we are. It's kind of funny because normally I do my wrap-up video and then I do my TBR video, but I actually did it in reverse this time. And that's mainly because I'm in between reading so many different books that I don't really know what to do, because I was hoping that I would finish some things while I'm currently reading them, but enough about that. Let's just chat. Hi, my name's Melina, and today we are going to do my October wrap up. So let's jump into it. If you guys are new here, I read a little bit of everything. I try to do some romance, some fantasy, some sci-fi, some anything, thrillers, you name it. And so my October reading was pretty diverse. I'm really proud of myself. I hit most of the books on my TBR list. There are a few that I'm currently reading, and there's a few that I'm just pushing over into November. So first things first, I started the month off by listening to Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. This book was not for me. It was a slow, cozy fiction story. It takes place on a farm, and this woman is telling the story of how she used to date an actor and how she came up in the acting business and then gave it all up. And it's dual timeline. It's her telling her daughters of this story, and then it's the other timeline of her getting into acting and then meeting the famous actor and then being in Tom Lake, which was a play at the time. Whereas Tom Lake, the playwright company, I don't even remember right now, but it's the famous, so she gets put in a play where an actor who was up and coming becomes a celebrity basically right afterwards. And it's not that it was bad, and if anyone can get me into it, it would be Meryl Streep who narrated this story, but I just felt like it was a lot of nothing that happened. I found it to be a little far-fetched that in all of the years that she's had children, her children are grown up. They are grown adults. They have never heard this story or anything like it, because it would be fascinating. If I was a celebrity, if I was an actress and I had once dated a famous celebrity, I think I would tell my kids the moment that it was appropriate to tell them. Like, it's just fascinating. And somehow it never came up. Like, her daughters never found out. She didn't tell them until this moment during COVID where they're all together. I don't believe it. I don't buy it. It was very mundane. It was very slow. Maybe this book is for other people, but it was definitely not for me. I still rated it, I believe, a 3-star or a 3.25 star. It's because it wasn't bad. The writing wasn't bad, and listening to it wasn't terrible. I just found it to be slow paced, and I couldn't finish it fast enough, honestly. I was so over it by the end of it. So yeah, hard pass for me. I don't know. I guess I'm not an intellectual. Some people maybe found it way better than I did, but it was okay. Then for my book club, we did Between Us. I forgot who it's by. It's gonna be right here. I had high hopes for this one. I thought it was gonna be so good. It is a dual perspective, dual timeline thriller, and it follows these two twin sisters. In the present time, one of the twin sisters had gotten into a car accident and has lost her memory. So she doesn't remember anything except for her sister. And so her sister is basically teaching her about, what her memories are, what's true, what's not true. And of course, it's a little sketchy from the beginning. And then there's a past timeline that we are reading to find out more about the past of these twins. And so I really liked it initially. I think I went into it and there were so many random suspicious things happening that I really thought that it was going to go one way. And then there was a huge lull in the middle. And then when it came together, I found it interesting. But at the end, I was just a little underwhelmed. I felt like it was a little predictable, and it was just okay. Again, it was just an okay book. I think I would rate it a 3.5 stars. Then I read another Halloween book. So then I read The Hate Hacks, which was my next Halloween read, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun twist on a vampire witch romance. I've never read a vampire witch romance ever before. Actually, I'm lying. I probably have. When I read the Night World series, they had a whole bunch of intermingled magic types dating, and off the top of my head I don't remember if one of them was one was a witch and one was a vampire. There might have been something in there. Okay, but besides that, I had never read a lighter romantic comedy like this one, and this one followed a witch who does not want to use her witch powers for fear of not being able to control her powers based on past experiences, and a vampire who has a dark past with a brother who is very violent, and and when there is an opening in their council, like their magical world council. They're both up for the running for being the next council person. You know, they have like a group of people who help lead their community. And so it was pretty funny. It was fast paced. I do feel like it was a little insta-lovey, which I did not like, but they do explain it. And honestly, if there's ever a book that I'm going to like insta-love, I guess this one will be the exception. It was not bad. Not bad at all. I really enjoyed it, and I think it's kind of that fluffiness that you want when you're trying to read like a holiday like romance. I tend to find that I like this type of vibe even in my Christmas romances, where they're a little fluffier and it doesn't have to be so heavy and serious, and this was exactly what I wanted and what I needed when I went into this. So it was really good. I'm gonna rate this one 3.25 or 3.5 stars. So the next one up is I Just Want to Be Yours. This is the second book in the Just Yours duology. The first one is I Don't Want to Be Yours. Oh, Just Don't Call Me Yours. I'm so sorry. And I loved the first one, a lot. It is a aspiring rock artist and a girl who wants to go into journalism. And so this book starts off after they were already together, and it felt so realistic, and it felt kind of how you want a series like this to go, where it did not feel like, it just didn't feel rushed. It also didn't feel like a giant third act breakup, which we'll get to why I even used that phrase in the first place. It just made you fall in love with each of the characters more, and it felt like if I were dating a rock star or a celebrity that travels a lot, these conflicts that they have in this book were really well done. And by the end of it, you just fall in love with both of these characters. And I know they probably won't get another book, but I really hope that we see them in another one of her books, because I really love when authors put your favorite characters in the same universe and you just like briefly see how they're doing. And this one is one of those books. I really like Heather Garvin's books. She is a really good writer and she writes really good romances. I still haven't even gotten through her backlog, but just based on these two books, I really highly recommend reading both of them. Overall, I would rate this a 4.25 stars. Next up, I listened to the audiobook Truly Devious. My friend Megan recommended this to me, and it gives me a good girl's guide to murder vibes. It is a YA mystery slash thriller. Where it follows our main character who joins a boarding school, and she was brought in to help solve a mystery from the property. And while that is happening, there is a subplot of romance, there is murder, everyone's a suspect, no one is innocent, and of course, while I wasn't attached to everyone initially, it took me a little while to grow into everyone. I will say by the end of it, she got me hooked, and I wanted to keep reading. So I've been waiting for my Libby Hold to become available, and I think that hopefully in November I'll get to the second one, because it ended on a huge cliffhanger, and I feel like the series is going to continue to get better. Yeah, for sure. And they're just super quick and easy to listen to and read. I was doing both at the same time. I would just go back and forth, and by the end of it, I just wanted more. I overall would rate this one a 3.75 stars. I feel like there's a lot of room to grow in the series, but now that I'm attached, I think the other two books will be much better. At least in rating wise for me personally. Then we did The Couple Next Door. This was a book that was gifted to me by my friend Sloan. I'll link her somewhere around here. She gifted me this. I don't even remember why, but I really was excited because this was a thriller that was around 300 pages, and it's highly rated online. I feel like thrillers are just one of the most all over the place rating type of genre. Like, I feel like it's not like you love it or hate it in thrillers. Like, you have very strong opinions on each thriller, and usually people just feel so, like I said, varied. This one is highly rated, and most people tend to like this one, and I understand why. There were so many plot twists, and I couldn't guess most of them, and even the ones that I did, it still didn't end up the way that I thought it would. And for 300 pages, it's a short one. I feel like that's very impressive. It's about a couple, and they go to a dinner party where they leave their baby in their house. And so they go to the couple next door for their dinner party. And while they're away, even though they check on the baby every hour, the baby goes missing at some point. And so this book is trying to figure out who took the baby, who is responsible, why are they responsible, etc, etc, etc. And I feel like Sherry LaPena, that's her name, right? She does a really good job of creating characters that are all really suspicious, where everybody, I don't know who did it, I had no idea, everyone just looked so terrible, even the people who were innocent just looked bad, and I think that's what keeps a thriller being fun. So this one I really liked. I would rate this a 4.25 stars for sure. Then I read a new indie author's arc, Truth or Dare. I mentioned this in my TBR. This was a book I had on my list. I didn't know what to expect because I think I did mention this is like the third or fourth book in a series, and I didn't actually read all the books prior, which usually I do the work and I read everything before the arc because I feel like that's when you're going to get the most of a story, but I didn't do it this time. And you know what? I didn't actually need it. I felt like I fell in love with the characters and I felt like it was really well written. I really enjoyed Chris's character and I really enjoyed Gabby's character, and this friends to lovers, especially a childhood friends to lovers with really deep heavy plot or backstory is the better phrase I would use, was just really nice. Honestly, these books, or this book specifically, I didn't read her other books, it really gives me, what's her name? I figured out, I looked it up. It gives me Katie McGarry vibes, where I feel like it's very troubled teens who go through things that are really traumatic and they go through it together and kind of move past it together. And I know that these kids are in college, but I don't know, something about it gave me that. And I mean I liked Katie McGarry when I was in high school, so it's kind of cool to find an author that gives me that vibe for an older group of people. I know for a fact that I'm going to go back and read the rest of the series and then go back to any other backlog that I'm missing, but I really enjoyed this one. This is a 4.25 stars for me. Then we're going to talk about Between Us, which I think I mentioned in my TBR. I finished this literally the first day of the month. I finished this so quickly and I couldn't have enough good things to say about this. This gives me kind of Emily Henry vibes. It is a romance that reads like a literary fiction novel. I feel like there is for sure romance and it is focused on the romance, but there is so many other things going on that are besides the romance that it just feels like the romance is almost an added bonus. The writing was so beautiful. I feel like, again, I have this weird soft spot for characters that are around my age. I'm 30 now, so I feel like I do read a lot of books of people in their 20s, but I feel like there's something special when I read about characters that are around the same age as me going through the same adult things that I'm going through. And the friend group in this was really special. It didn't give me Happy Place vibes, but initially I thought that this is where it was gonna go. And I think I've just become her new biggest fan. I would rate this one a 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. I don't have enough good things to say about this one. It's so good. I really highly recommend this one. Then my friend recommended to me an audiobook. I have read something by Geneva Rose. I think it's called The Perfect Couple or The Perfect Marriage or something like that. And it was fine. But when my friend recommended this book to me, you shouldn't have come here. It's right here. I did not know what to expect. She hyped this up and she said it was so good and it was so addicting. And she's not wrong. It was pretty fast paced. It definitely was not what I was expecting. It's about a girl who goes to an Airbnb and things are just very weird right off the bat. The people who are his friend, the Airbnb owner's friends, are very strange and just not completely normal. Even the girl who was visiting the Airbnb, something's off about her the whole time. There was this really insta-lovey attraction between the Airbnb owner and the girl who was staying at the Airbnb. For a second, I thought it was not going to be a thriller. I thought it was going to be a romance, and then weird things started happening and I was like, oh, it's a thriller with fun. Which I've also never read. I was a little caught off guard. Not that it was bad or good, it was just unexpected, and I've never read a thriller that had a scene like that. The ending, let's backtrack. There was a huge lull in the book at some point where I was not really enjoying it. I want to say like from 40 to 80%, there was like this moment where I was just like, I just want to get to it. I don't understand what's happening. Not much has happened. And while people look suspicious, there has been no real plot. And then you get to the 80% mark and shit goes down. Everything happens at the same time, and by the end of it you're just shocked. Like, I was a little caught off guard. I didn't expect it, and I guess that's kind of a good thing, and that's always an enjoyable thing. I don't know if I loved it even after reading it and feeling this way. I think I would rate this a 3.25 stars by the end of it, which means I'm not sure if I would recommend it. It was interesting. I'm not gonna go and grab it because it's at the bottom of my Throne of Glass stack and it's just so heavy to move those books around. But I did finish Kingdom of Ash and I'm heartbroken. I am so sad to leave my friends behind. I have been reading this series on and off with breaks for the past year. I think I did start the first Throne of Glass book in November and I've fallen more and more in love with every single character as the books have progressed. So it's hard. It's hard to know this world and know these people and feel so close and attached. And the series I'm upset because obviously there were characters. If you know anything about the series, there's a big war at some point, so you don't know who's going to survive, who isn't going to survive. But I felt tears. I felt true happiness. I felt heartwarming joy. I felt gutted. And I don't know if I've ever read a series that made me feel all of these things so strongly. And I loved Six of Crows and I loved Harry Potter series and there's so many good fantasy series that I've read that I've really, really enjoyed. But because it's such a long series, I really had the chance to care so genuinely about each of these characters. I already know what I'm going to read next to try to block this hole in my heart because I'm just so upset that it's over. I'm going to do the Mistborn series, I think starting January, and that will be the next series. Hopefully that will come close or be just as good as Throne of Glass. It may be obvious from this tangent. This is a 5-star read. I could not recommend this series more. It has everything you want in a fantasy. It has the perfect romance subplots. It has the action. It has the adventure. It has the epicness of it. The friendships are so good. The family relationships are so good. Everything. The magic elements were really fun, and I think that the series will stick with me forever. And I do think this is a series that I will truly reread and pay closer attention, and I think everyone should read this series. If you like fantasy even a little bit, I think you will enjoy this one. It's really fun. So I'm as sad as I am, I'm also happy to know how it ends. So 5 stars. Then I read the highly anticipated Nothing Like the Movies. This is the second book to Better Than the Movies, and I definitely feel a little bittersweet about this. I honestly genuinely feel like she could have left the series with the first book and just left it. On the other hand, I do really love how we got Wes's point of view, because we've gotten his point of view in the novellas. If you've read them, they're so good, and hearing his thoughts of certain scenes from Better Than the Movies and even afterwards is really special, because I feel like you get to know his character much better. But at the same time, this book takes place when they're in college, and it's not exactly what I expected it to be. It was a lot heavier. It was really sad, but overall this whole story felt like a third act breakup. So you got 300 pages of a third act breakup, and I loved seeing them because I love Liz and Wes. They're just so special. I rated this a 4.25 stars or a 4 stars. I don't think it's better than the Movies. I also don't feel like this book was necessary, as I already mentioned. But if you love them and you just want more, it is pretty cool to see them in college in this different moment of their lives. Yeah, I don't remember if I rated it a 4 or 4.25. I'll put it right here. I still enjoyed it, and I'm glad it came out, and I'm glad I got more of them, especially Wes. Wes is one of the best book boyfriends ever. Even through everything that happened in specifically this book, he is the best. Then finally I read the highly anticipated Power Play by Chelsea Curto, and it was everything I wanted and more. So I read Face Off, and I rated that a 4.75 stars. I love Mav and Emmy. I've recommended them multiple times throughout my channel already. I highly recommend it on my Instagram. I love them so much. They have such a great part in my they have a soft spot in my heart forever. I really love Behind the Camera as well, because their story of Dallas and Maeve was so good as well. But let's talk about the more recent releases. I loved Face Off. And then I read Off Camera. And Off Camera was not bad at all, but it just didn't come as close as Face Off did. So I was a little nervous when I found out Liam, who was one of my favorite characters in Face Off, was getting his own story with Piper, who I knew they were going to be together. Like, you just know. And I binged this book in 2 days. It is amazing. It is equally, if not better, than Face Off. I don't know if it's better, but Liam is probably one of the best book boyfriends I've read. And that's saying something, because I love Mav, I love Wes, I love, if you're thinking about even fantasy, Rowan and Reese, they're so great. This series, or this book, hits on so many really good, deeper topics insecurity of starting over after being divorced, after feeling unloved, unwanted, and even unsure of yourself after dealing with things like harassment and being bullied at work and not feeling valued. This book is just so special. She has the perfect way of being able to add a spicy scene right where it's actually needed, but then sometimes do a fade to black scene when it's also necessary, because she knows exactly how to make a book perfectly romantic but funny and feel good, and you just can't help yourself. You can't help but smile. Sometimes I know you can't help but smile at some of these moments, because again, you've fallen in love with so many of these characters throughout all of her other books, and it's really special, okay? And she achieved that. I don't know how she topped Face Off or made it equally as good, because again, it's really hard. Like, this is the fresher one on my mind, but I know for a fact how much I loved Face Off, and she did it. She did it. She created an amazing follow-up book to this series, and somehow it's just as good or better. I'm not sure. I could not say more nice things about this book. I loved Liam. I loved Piper. I loved each of their perspectives. I love the side characters. I was so happy to be back with the stars. Those group chats always have me dying, and it gives you so much personality for each character, even though you haven't gotten their story or perspective yet. It makes you eager for the next stars member to get their romance. So 5 stars. Easy 5 stars. 100% of 5 stars. Definitely read this one, please. Now I'm going to just go over really quickly what I'm currently reading. I'm currently reading Divine Rivals, Perfect Fit, and The Wedding Witch. I know I'm reading a lot at a time. My goal is to finish all these throughout the week. Today is the 29th, and this will probably go up on Sunday, so maybe I'll finish it in the next few days. I'm traveling, and usually I just get to do a lot more reading when I'm traveling, and sometimes I don't. But yeah, I really am looking forward to finishing those. But those are my ratings. I think I had a really strong October. A lot of 3 stars, nothing really terrible, and a 5-star read, especially being one of the books I wanted to finish before the end of the year. For it to be a 5-star read it feels nice to know that there was a book on my list that I knew I wanted to read, and it was rated so highly. So I really hope that I continue that streak of just choosing books that I know I'm going to really love. I don't mind choosing 3-star reads or 3.5-star reads, 4-star reads, but when you get that 5-star and it's a book that you're like, I know I'm gonna love it, and you do, you just feel great. I don't have the physical copy of Power Play. I did order it, but I got a signed copy by her, and it just takes forever to get shipped to me. So for now, we're dealing with the ebooks, or the pictures here. And these are my physical copies, not including Kingdom of Ash, that I'm still too lazy to go and grab. But yeah, that was my October wrap up. I feel like I did a pretty good job of doing it pretty quickly, considering I think my last few are so long. 2 videos in one day though also is pretty crazy for me. And that's it. Until next time, guys. We'll chat soon. Bye.